Hello again, everyone. I'm CAZTV, and this is Casual Conversations, a program where we speak to people important in our world and to our world. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Larry French, and he's a novelist. He's also kind of historian, and he tracks the history in Florida. So instead of me kind of like having him on right now and talking, which we'll do in a few seconds, let me kind of show you a cool video, which kind of takes you back to the past. Check this out.
As we've gotten to this year, it's now 1863. The Federals now, since they have Jacksonville, and they have most of the coastal cities, they're starting to come down the St. Johns River in gunboats and steamers, since they've confiscated just about everybody's stuff. Like they took Jacob Brock's boat, the Darlington, and so they come down with gunboats and raiding parties. If I had some money and I could set it aside, when this war is over, I would take my money and I would get myself a steamboat and I would use it for all these dandies and carpetbaggers and Yankees that are wanting to come down here and see the paradise of Florida.
Sir, hello. Do you hear me?
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I am, who are you? You're not Larry.
Private French. Private French. Who are you?
I'm kind of like your past, present, future talking to you.
Oh, you're kidding me. You're pulling my leg.
You have a problem with your candles? Your candle's got a little dark over there. Did you lose the candle?
We got lantern lights here. Where are you coming from? This is 1865.
Well, we're kind of your future, present, past.
Okay. All right. I'll follow along with you. That sounds dandy. What can I do for you?
Well, tell us about your life. Your outfit there looks pretty interesting.
Well, this is what we wear. You're kind of like partially clad there, sir. I would not go out in public the way you are. You're not wearing a tie. You have no vest. You would be considered indecent.
No. You find that funny?
Well, it is a little odd. Normally, you'd have a hat and you'd have some clothes on. I'd hate to see what your ladies must look like.
Well, you'd have to use the time travel, but we don't have that available anymore.
Ah, time travel. All right. Yeah. Yes. Well, well, life's a little bit different here. Here in Enterprise, the war is over, and we're just trying to get things back together again. Jacob Brock's got his steamboat back, and things are starting to pick up. We get people, they call them tourists, coming here down to Florida. They like the oranges, and they come here in the winter time of all times.
Winter time. You don't have winter where you are?
Say again?
You don't have winter where you are?
Winter? Well, it might get a little chilly here, but we dress in our wools all the time. It's not much different. I mean, you might get a frost once in a while, but no, no, sir. All them snows is from up north. We don't get them down here.
Wow. So what is life like?
Well, it depends on your constitution. It can be pretty tough. If you're near the water where I'm at, you can get a breeze a little bit off of Lake Monroe, or if you're near one of the springs, you get to get into water once in a while because it gets mighty hot down here. We're starting to get into our summertime, and most of them folks that come down here from north in the wintertime, they have no idea what it's like here in the summer. You come around August, and you're going to have people melting because they can't stand the heat. But, most of us, we're used to it. We just don't do as much work out in the heat of the day. And, of course, we're wearing hats and we're protecting ourselves so we don't get overheated.
So you have kind of conditioned air over there, you could say.
Conditioned air? Yes, if you're near the water, sure, yes. Mm-hmm. Now, some places, they got these contraptions rigged up with steam engines where they can get a little, like, like little fans going up and down in the ceiling to get the air moving, or otherwise you're going to have somebody, pay somebody to stand there and fan you. I mean, if you don't have a breeze.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. Well, it's been fun doing this with Larry, I got to say. So Larry's got to snap out of his character. And hi, Larry, it's actually you, right?
Oh, yes, Kaz, it's me, of course.
That was really cool. I felt like I went back in time, and I tried to mix you up a little bit about conditioned air, air conditioning, so maybe people can read into that. But I'm so happy to connect with you because, history is very, very important to us, and it's very important to you. How did you get started with the history?
Well, I got started a long time ago. I think I sent you some information. It started almost 45 years ago with my history intro.
Which one are you there?
I'm the handsome little fella there on the right who's kneeling. That was me back when I got started. I was interested in Florida's history, and I got started in reenacting because, like the old Indian saying says, walk a mile in a man's moccasins to get a good idea of what really goes on. So to get that one, what the history was like, I would try to down the clothes and sleep on the ground and do all those things that people did back then in the 19th century.
Well, I'm also happy that you spent the time and you wrote 2 novels, using all this knowledge that you have, you're reenacting where people can actually interact with you down in Florida. And you wrote Grand Hotels of West Volusia County, right?
Correct.
And then you did Time Will Tell, The Awakening, most current novel. And it's amazing because tell us a little bit about the current one first, Time Will Tell.
Well, Time Will Tell, I decided, since I was doing all this reenacting, along the way, I wanted to remember a lot of the experiences I had. So I kept a journal, and in that journal, I would write down my experiences. Sometimes I even did sketches and so forth. And it was a way for me to get closer to what the history was like and what people experienced. And so one day it occurred to me, I ought to try and write a story that involves the history and introduces people to some of the real living characters of the time period to try to tell the history and also explain some of what went along in our early history, especially here in Florida. So that's where the idea came for the novel.
Is that to what you said? You're not a trained violinist, so like what inspired you to start playing the violin? Is it kind of what you learned in the past, entertainment back then?
Exactly. When I go into character and I'm at a reenactment, all modern conveyances and amenities go to the wayside. In fact, like I'm wearing period glasses, and we talk in the language of the time period. We don't use any of the mannerisms, and we even use entertainment, the singing and music, like a violin or a fiddle or a banjo, when we're having entertainment around a campfire. So to learn and get more into the character, I've started learning how to play the fiddle. So
wow.
I fiddle.
Oh, sorry, it's the fiddle. I said violin. I made a bad thing. It's
well,
the fiddle.
No, that's all right. But when you're playing formal, it's a violin. When you're playing around with it, you're fiddling around.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Hey, folks, for more information, you can look and learn all about Larry and his fiddle and his violin and his hat and his clothes and everything else. His travels at LarryFrenchHistoricalNovelist.com. Where'd you come up with such a long web address there? What is going on?
Well, I'm trying to tell people exactly what I do. What I write is about history, as you see in the books.
Yeah, my website's kind of similar to CAZTV. So Kaz does TV,
There you go.
CAZTV.com. So you can just find out all about it. It's easy to remember. So Larry French, historical novelist. What does he do? Read the title, right?
That's right.
So tell us a little bit more. We have some more images I want to go through quickly. So let's start with those, and you tell me the story.
Oh, yes. What I do is in the novel, we actually visit some real historic sites and spend time at those locations. And some of these are places that I've actually been to, like Fort Clinch, this is what a picture is when I'm in character. Fort Clinch is a very good place for if you want to get a sense of place of the history, because there are a lot of things there that'll help you feel like you're actually going back in time. So we often go there to do these kinds of activities because it gives you a real easy transition. So Fort Clinch is ideal. The book actually in its story, the adventure starts right at the end of the Civil War. So you're right there in the trenches, and then you're traveling, in time will tell, cross country, trying to leave the war and get away from it, because the main characters, I won't give too much of a teaser, are actually people from the future, our present time, who accidentally get transported back in time. So it's got some science fiction time travel involved in it. And the actual story outlines the entire week that General Lee's army retreated all the way from near Petersburg all the way to their surrender at Appomattox. And it doesn't end there. It continues from there, using a lot of the sketches and the ideas and experiences in the journal that I kept. The characters are actually going to be traveling south, coming to Florida. There's a thread that's going to tie it to Florida's history and brings them to Fort Clinch. The reader is going to see a lot of the scenery that was here at that time period described as what it was, and they're going to get an experience of what Florida was like at this time. They're going to visit a lot of the areas that were very pivotal to the time period, such as, the actual fort, as I mentioned. They're going to be traveling to some of the cities of the Southeast and actually the Northeast. And so the characters are going to get really into the history of the area. So you're learning history as you're reading the adventure.
Now, part of the picture you sent is New York City. How does that come into play?
Well, that's part of the plot in here. One of our characters is going to end up going to New York City because one of the soldiers he's with is actually someone from New York City, remarkably and strangely. And since he's from New York, nobody wants to have anything to do with him now that the war's over. So this fella helps him to get all the way back to New York because he's injured.
Larry, I know it's not me, even though I'm talking to you from near New York in New Jersey. New Jersey. And I know I've seen a character or a guy look like you in New York way back then, but I'm not sure. I got to check my picture, see if it was you. Maybe you're kind of tricking me with this interview. But
well, no, I've been to New York, and I like the city. It's got a lot of interesting spaciousness to it. So I write a lot of that in there from some of those experiences and try to blend it with its early history back in 1865. So
tell me about this picture. What is this?
Well, the characters are going to actually encounter some interesting people from the time period. One of the events that's going to take place is the funeral procession of Abraham Lincoln that goes right through New York City. And our character is going to be in that actual house in the photograph watching the parade, and he's going to be a guest of the Roosevelt family. He's going to get to meet them and a whole bunch of other important characters that were pivotal industrialists of the time period. These are some of the individuals that they're going to interact with, and you're going to eat at have some fine dining at Delmonico's. I didn't get to go to Delmonico's when I went to New York City, but my character gets to in the story, and they get to enjoy a lot of these things in New York City. But you're seeing it from the perspective of that time period in 1865. The Brooklyn Bridge hasn't even been built yet.
Wow. So it takes a lot of research, a lot of also imagination, and putting the character in a place and using all real research material around them. It's not just making up, a story about something in your head, right?
That's correct. And Google Earth was extremely helpful too, because you could actually travel the route and get an idea of what the topography was like. And then through all the historical records, get a pretty good picture of what the landscape was like during the time period. And of course, then you have all the historical documents and images of the buildings from the time period. So I'm able to describe a lot of these places the characters visit, see, and are traveling through.
You also go kind of the Carolinas also?
Yes. My characters are going to travel down through South Carolina. They're going to come to Charleston, which was one of the major hubs for transportation for people coming to the South, and they're going to catch one of the actual steamers that operated back then and come all the way to Florida. That's an image of the Darlington, which was owned by Jacob Brock, and that's one of the trips that actually describes you're coming down the river. It's going to describe the communities and what's going on.
Wow, that's such a, it must be a thrill for you to research this and then build stories and kind of get new generations involved into preserving history.
Yes. Well, there's another purpose in it too, because I wanted people to think about how pivotal, or how important certain events are in history. Because in this, there's actually an element of, I guess you could say, of a threat to history, because I have individuals written in the novel who are actually from the future, actually trying to change past events to create a whole new history. So it's kind of intriguing to see how that fits in, and how you might have had a different outcome on something if certain people didn't actually live out their lives.
Wow. So this is what you look like in character when you do your, move over to the side there so we can kind of all fit into the same screen there, Larry.
Yeah.
The other way. There you go.
Yeah, that's
Which
me.
is tell the truth. Which is the real Larry? Please stand up. Got a serious look there, Larry.
That's me. I'm a little more shaved now, but more of a beard.
Well, I'm so glad that you're doing this, and continue the great work. I know we'll have you back on another episode, but again, describe the two novels again for us.
Yes. Time Will Tell, The Awakening is the historical fiction adventure novel that takes place in the 19th century and brings people all the way to Florida after the war. Grand Hotels of West Volusia is a pictorial history of some very big, important hotels that existed in West Volusia County during about the same time period up until about the 1950s. And they were big hotels, about as big as the Grand Hotel that's out there on Lake Michigan.
You also do taste tours. Tell me about those.
Oh, yes, the tasting tours. Let me do a quick little change here for you.
Oh, okay.
I also do tasting tours. Since I love the history, we'll take people out on a tour of historic downtown DeLand, and we'll explain to them the history of the buildings and everything else. And at the same time, they get to sample food, beverages, and do shopping. And everybody has a good time because you're doing three things people really love. You're shopping, you're eating, you're drinking. And it's all about good food, good fun, and good experiences.
That is awesome. So all the links will be below the video if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, where we post this video. The links, nice hat. I like this one better. And and actually, I have one of Forrest Gump.
There you go.
Bubblegum shrimp. That's from Florida, right?
A lot when I was writing the book.
In Florida, yeah, there you go. So, I got red hats as well. But where else can people contact you? I mean, where can they find the book?
Yes, you can find Time Will Tell, The Awakening on Amazon Books and on Amazon.com. And Grand Hotels of West Volusia County you can find at Arcadia Publishing, also online.
Wow, that's awesome. Any final words? Someone who wants to get into history and relive the past, what advice would you give them?
My advice would be to read as much as you can, and don't be afraid to slough off some of the modern conveniences, because as Theodore Roosevelt once said, he said, the more I know about the past, the better prepared I am for the future.
That's true. That's very true. I mean, we're kind of connecting using technology here, so we can't do it the old-fashioned way. Otherwise, we'd have to be next to each other talking, and very few people would see this. So this allows us to share your information throughout the world.
That's right. Next time I'll try to have my lanterns a little bit lit more so you can see more.
Yeah, I think you should talk to the supplier over there. The horse and buggy was a little delayed, I think, over there. So, make sure you get your candles correct and what you need, the right size and the right wicks,
That's right. Mr. Edison hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Well, work on it, okay? We'll have you back talking about the hotels, because I think that's another beautiful thing to experience and let people know all about, because they're everywhere around the country, but just to look down what you found and how we can preserve those great hotels.
Looking forward to it.
Hey, thank you as always. Hey, enjoy your great conversation.
Care.
I wish I had my hammer. Well, I would have to go like this.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Bubblegum, thanks you. All right, till next time, enjoy a great conversation. Bye.
Goodbye, all.